back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my November/December reading wrap up. So as some of you know, I was really busy over the holiday season, and that includes Halloween. Like from September through December, I was in full-on festive mode one way or the other. And I didn't get a ton of reading done November through December. I only read, I think, 3 books and then 4 books. So I decided just to combine the wrap-ups into one. Also just didn't do a lot of filming in December. I kind of let myself have a break on that one. But I did read a few things that I want to talk about, so we're going to share them now. Coming on the tail end of Halloween, I read the Deathless Girls. I finished this one in November, but I started it in October. Really glad I got to this one. It was one of the few books that I physically read last year. It's one of the most beautiful books that I own. I believe this is the UK edition. I don't know if they have a US edition. I think you can get this one on Book Depository, but this basically was pitched to me as the backstory on Dracula's wives, which sounded really amazing. And this was really good, but I wish that it wasn't pitched to me that way. It's basically about 2 sisters that are about to discover their fate. They go to like this fortune teller woman on a certain age, they're twins, and she basically tells them what's in store for them in the future. And when they're about to do this, they wind up getting captured and taken and are forced to work in these like faraway castles that have all this mystery around them. They learn about this mysterious man called the Dragon that lives in a faraway land. So this one is a lot more hard-hitting than I was expecting. And it was a lot more about the girls and their upbringing and their hardships than it was about the vampires and the magic and the aftermath. So I feel like I would have liked it more if I had known that, more so than expecting more vampires and more magic and things like that. Last part of this book that has all that is really fantastic, but it felt a little bit disconnected. It felt a little bit like there were 2 separate books almost, because you're learning the background of the girls and their hardships and their hard lives, and they keep going into horrible situations and horrible things are happening, and then the vampire stuff kind of comes into play. So it feels a little bit jarring. I did give this 4 stars because overall it was really well written and I was really into it, but I was a little bit disappointed based on what I was expecting. Then I read The Shadow Glass by Rin Chapeko. This is the final book in the Bone Witch series. I already talked about this series in my top 10 reads of the year, so I'll link that up in the cards. You guys can go and check it out. This I can't say too much because I don't want to spoil the series as a whole, but the Bone Witch series is a little bit hard to describe. It's set in a magical world. It's about a girl that learns bone magic, and she also goes through this training where she almost becomes like a geisha because she learns about magic and dance and beauty and entertaining and a bunch of different things all at once. You're following her from a very young age and you're kind of bouncing back and forth between timelines. I feel like this series is really underrated, but you do need to keep in mind it does have a slower pace to it. It is a very, very thoroughly built, detailed world, which is fabulous, but it can take a little bit to get going. Also, you're jumping timelines, you're getting told a story by someone, and then you're bouncing back and forth into the past. So on audio, it was slightly hard to figure out where it was going. I needed to really pay attention. The audio narrator, which was Emily Wu Zeller, I believe, and someone else that I'll put right here, was fantastic. But just keep those things in mind and I think you'll enjoy it more if you go into it knowing it's a little bit slower, more detailed, and you get a little bit jumpy. A lot of the characters have a lot of nicknames and similar names, which isn't always my favorite because I find like that makes it a little more confusing as well. But I did give this one 4 stars also, and I really enjoyed the series overall. The ending is just one of the best. And jumping into the holiday season, right at the end of November, I picked up Hidden Sea by Gregory Maguire. This I did on audio as well. I'll put the narrator here. I have a very weird relationship with Gregory Maguire. I'm going to decide this year whether I'm going to unhaul the rest of his books. These are adult fairy tale retellings, loosely fairy tale retellings. So he's the author of Wicked, which is very different from the musical if you haven't read it. I did enjoy Wicked, knowing that going into it that it was going to be very different. The background on the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz. I haven't continued on with that series yet and I'm debating on it. He has a Snow White retelling that I enjoyed, but it was also kind of weird. I really didn't like his Alice in Wonderland retelling, and I really didn't like this one. I think I gave it 2 stars. His books are just very, very slow and detailed, but not necessarily in a good way. It's supposedly supposed to be the background of Drosselmeyer from the Nutcracker, but you get very little about the actual Nutcracker. There's nothing Christmassy really in it, which is not the book's fault, but that's kind of more of what I was wanting. And Gregory does a lot of weird, just puts a lot of weird things into his books. Sometimes there's like weird sexual stuff in them and just weird sentences and things like that. I found this one incredibly boring and very, very slow, so I will be unhauling this one, but I don't think I would recommend this one to anyone, to be honest. I'm gonna try one more book from him before I decide if I'm gonna just unhaul like all of his stuff, because I don't think that I love it enough to I keep collecting like all of his books because I love retelling, but then like most of the time I'm disappointed. So sadly, this one was 2 stars. Then I read 3 actual Christmas reads for the Jingle Bellathon, which I'll also link up here in the cards. It was my Christmas holiday themed readathon through December. So the first thing that I read was Christmas on Accident by Cameron Wright, and this one was just a quick short audio that I used to start off the week because I had a very busy week, and it was basically about a man who is an accident reporter, and while he's writing out these accident reports he gets kind of carried away and imagines them in his head and imagines like the background of the person having the accident and what caused this to happen and what their life will be like after, and some of that kind of bleeds into the accident report, and he winds up losing his job for this. He really is learning that he needs to become a writer. And then we have a different character who is helping her family run a bakery, and she winds up being in an accident. He has to report on it as his last one, and they kind of interconnect. It's a romance. This one really surprised me. I definitely would recommend it to your like holiday reads if you enjoy them. It had some good meat to it, like it had some good background on the characters and some little emotional pulls that I really enjoyed, and it was very festive and fun and really, really quick. So I wound up giving this one I think like 3.5 stars, and I wound up liking it like a lot more than I thought. Then I picked up The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. This one was new for this year. This is an adult holiday romance. Again, we've got twins that wind up switching places. I believe they're in their like mid-20s. One is a judge for a cooking show, and she winds up like hitting her head and losing her sense of taste, and that can't happen because she needs that to do her cooking show. And then her sister is a baker in a different state or a different town. Her sister's kind of struggling during the holiday season, and they decide to swap places because they both are good at baking and all those kinds of things, and it's basically just those kinds of shenanigans. They meet different men in their lives, so it's kind of got like a Parent Trap meets The Holiday. If you don't know The Holiday, it's one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies. Again, I really enjoyed this one. I really like Christmas reads, and I kind of go into these knowing they're not going to be like the best book I've ever read, but they're going to be fun and they're going to be festive. And it was very fun and festive. My only like bigger criticism was that it was a little bit too long. I felt like some of the scenarios could have been cut out and the book would have still been really good. But the ending was really cute as well, and I also gave this one 3.5 stars. Then I finally read Mr. Dickens and His Carol. I loved this book. It was on my top 10 reads of 2021. Keep in mind, I didn't have a lot of amazing reads for top 10 21, so this isn't like life-changing, but I just really, really enjoyed it, and it gave me all the feels. So in this one, we're doing a kind of historical fiction twist on the Christmas Carol, but also on Charles Dickens's life. And so the author's kind of taking liberties and twisting Charles Dickens while he's writing the Christmas Carol, and he's kind of becoming the Scrooge character himself. He doesn't really want to write a Christmas book. He's down on his luck. He kind of hates Christmas. He's basically like learning to figure all of this out. And the twists were just so good. The ending was very unexpected and really lovely. So I highly recommend this one. I gave it a solid 4 stars. It might be one that I read every year. I love A Christmas Carol, and I love a good Christmas book. The audio was really good. The narrator was fantastic. So glad that I finally got to this one. And then the last thing that I read for 2021 / I finished it like January 2nd, but I read most of it last year, was Aurora Burning by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. There's an entire like full cast of narrators. It's the same narrators, I believe, that do the Illuminae files, which are really fabulous. I have a weird relationship with this series. I read Aurora Rising in 2020, I think, and I think it was the only book that I read in August that year, and I did it on audio, and I was in a funky state and I wasn't really wanting to read, and so I wasn't taking it all in. And then I reread it last year and I enjoyed it more. And then I started this one right before Halloween, and I didn't finish it. It was a long audio. It was like 15 or 16 hours. And my mood kind of shifted and I just wanted to read like Halloween, like darker Halloween reads and not sci-fi. And so I took my time reading this and it took for freaking ever. I felt like this book was a million years long and I don't know why, because I love the narrators. It was really well done. The ending was spectacular. I think that I also missed some of the important details in the beginning, so I might need to reread it before the last one. There's a lot of characters in here, which usually I love, and I love like a ragtag space team. It just took me forever. I was listening like half an hour at a time. I couldn't binge listen to it. So I wound up giving this one 3.5, like 3.75 stars. It's a lot better than that. I just think that my head wasn't in the right space. And then by the time I started it again after like Halloween, I wanted to go into Christmas books and I just wasn't in the mood. So I kind of forced myself to finish it, which you really shouldn't do. But I am glad that I got it done. And I do recommend this series. I just kind of have like weird feelings about it now. So those are all the things I read for November and December. Not a ton, but I did get some things done and found a couple favorites as well. Let me know your top 5 reads of 2021 down below in the comments, please. I'm working on it for a video and I'm kind of compiling a list that you guys will find out here soon. So I really want to know what your favorite top 5 reads were of 2021, or even just some of your favorite like 5-star reads of that year. It doesn't have to be anything that came out that year, just anything you read last year. Very curious to know. But stay tuned, there'll be a lot more videos coming your way. I'm still kind of reorganizing my bookshelves and getting them back to normal. I'm also updating my app to figure out exactly how many TBR books I have left, which I'll be talking about in a video here soon. Don't forget to follow along on Instagram as well at The Bright Side Girl, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side.